Imagine two people in the same country. One makes $30,000. The other makes $300,000. Same currency, same flag, completely different video game difficulty setting. At 30,000, every bill feels like a boss fight, and rent is the villain with a calendar reminder. At 300,000, problems do not disappear, but many suddenly come with a convenient pay to solve button. But before anyone celebrates, remember the first rule of income. Gross pay is the number people brag about. Net pay is the money that actually arrives, slightly bruised, after taxes and deductions finish their group project. Then life shows up: rent, food, healthcare, transportation, debt, childcare, insurance, and one subscription you forgot existed. So this video is not just ranking salaries. We are ranking breathing room, risk, freedom, and options. 30,000 is survival mode. 50,000 breathes carefully. 75,000 starts building. 100,000 gets psychological. 150,000 opens choices. 300,000 creates power, but power income is not the same as wealth. For clean examples, we will use one simplified worker, single, W-2 income, no state tax, and no family deductions. Real life changes by city, family size, healthcare, debt, and whether rent walks into the room wearing steel boots. Myth 1, higher income automatically means rich. Myth 2, lower income means bad choices. Both are lazy math. The real question is not what you earn. It is what your income can buy: survival, stability, status, or freedom. We begin at the bottom rung, $30,000 a year, where every dollar needs a job and a helmet. $30,000 a year is not poverty cosplay. It is survival mode with rent, groceries, and transportation holding clipboards. First, the gross number gets processed. Federal tax is smaller here, but payroll taxes still show up every paycheck. The standard deduction protects part of the income, but Social Security and Medicare still take their quiet little slices. After basic federal withholding, the monthly cash flow can feel painfully small, especially before state tax, healthcare, or debt. At this tier, rent is not just an expense. Rent is the final boss wearing a landlord costume and steel boots. If housing takes too much, the rest of the budget becomes a crowded elevator where groceries and utilities fight for air. Food decisions become math, not fun math. More like, can this pasta survive 3 dinners and 1 emotional Tuesday? Transportation becomes a strategy game: bus pass, old car, gas, repairs, and the mysterious engine light of destiny. A $400 emergency is not a minor inconvenience here. It can become a full financial plot twist. When the gap appears, high-interest debt offers a bridge. Unfortunately, it is a bridge with teeth and monthly fees. So no, 30,000 is not automatically a character flaw. It is arithmetic with boxing gloves. The mission is not luxury. The mission is stability, low fixed costs, predictable bills, and avoiding toxic debt. Even a small emergency buffer matters. $50 saved is not glamorous, but it is one less panic button. At 30,000, progress may look tiny, but tiny progress is still a ladder rung, not a failure. Next rung, $50,000, where breathing room finally appears, but it still charges rent. At $50,000, life finally starts breathing again, but carefully, like it just climbed 6 flights of stairs. The gross salary looks much better than 30,000, but taxes and payroll deductions still politely remove their chairs first. Now, the monthly budget has categories that can actually exist: rent, food, transport, insurance, and a tiny savings line. But breathing room is not freedom yet. The cost of living monster still has rent, insurance, and groceries on speed dial. This is where the first dangerous upgrade appears: a nicer apartment, because survival mode left emotional damage in the carpet. Transportation also gets tempting. The old car feels risky, but the newer car payment wants to move in permanently. The danger is fixed costs. If rent and transportation get too large, your paycheck becomes a conveyor belt. After survival mode, comfort feels like luxury. delivery food, better phones, small trips, and one suspiciously confident coffee habit. Then lifestyle creep whispers the most expensive sentence in personal finance: you deserve it. One bad month can still erase three good ones. That is not failure. That is what thin margins do. The mission at 50,000 is breathing room. Protect cash flow, build a real buffer, and avoid expensive mistakes. Even small automated savings matter because money left unassigned tends to wander into snacks, apps, and mysterious Target trips. At this tier, the first raise is powerful. Protect part of it before lifestyle creep files a claim. 50,000 is not rich, but it can be the first rung where planning starts beating pure survival. Next comes $75,000, where the middle class machine starts working, if housing and debt do not jam the gears. At $75,000, the middle class machine can finally start working, if housing and debt do not jam the gears. The gross number looks solid now, but the paycheck still passes through taxes before it becomes real spending power. For the first time, the budget has real sections: bills, food, transportation, savings, investing, and a little life. But location changes everything. In a cheap city, 75 can feel stable. In an expensive city, it wears ankle weights. Housing is still the boss lever. Choose too much apartment, and every other financial goal starts eating instant noodles. Transportation becomes the second lever, reliable enough to live, but not so expensive it kidnaps your retirement contribution. Debt decides whether 75,000 feels like progress or just a fancier treadmill with better lighting. This is where the emergency fund should stop being symbolic and start becoming a real shield. Some dollars defend today, some dollars entertain today, but the best dollars build future you an escape hatch. Retirement contributions become realistic here. Not giant, not glamorous, but finally strong enough to matter. But beware the tiny expenses. At this tier, subscriptions may form a labor union and demand half your raise. The best use of 75 is momentum. Pay bad debt, build cash, and invest before lifestyle gets creative. When the next raise arrives, split it immediately. Savings first, debt second, lifestyle third. Yes, third. It can wait. At 75,000, you are not rich, but you can finally start turning income into stability. Next comes the most dangerous number in personal finance: $100,000, where salary becomes identity. $100,000 is the most emotionally dangerous number in personal finance. It sounds rich before the bills arrive, but gross pay is still not spendable money. First, it enters the tax machine and comes out noticeably less heroic. The headline says six figures. The bank app says rent, car payment, healthcare, food, debt, and please stop celebrating. The real trap is identity. Once you hit six figures, your brain whispers, your life should look expensive now. The cost of living monster hears 100,000 and immediately upgrades its weapons: rent, insurance, groceries, and subscriptions. A nicer apartment feels reasonable. After all, you make six figures. The rent contract agrees enthusiastically. Then comes the newer car because apparently your old car did not respect your new tax bracket. Restaurants get nicer, trips get bigger, convenience spending gets smoother. Every upgrade looks tiny until the receipts form a skyscraper. This is the high-income treadmill. You earn more, spend more, owe more, and somehow still wonder where everything went. 100,000 is not wealth. It is a powerful tool. Wealth appears only when some of that tool becomes assets. The danger is believing your income must be visible. Visible income buys applause. Invisible wealth buys freedom. So no, six figures does not automatically make you rich. It gives you a chance to stop being fragile. The rule at 100,000: budget around net income, cap fixed costs, and automate savings before lifestyle starts negotiating. Used well, this tier can build real stability. Used poorly, it becomes a prettier version of paycheck to paycheck. Next rung, $150,000, where options finally begin if lifestyle inflation does not eat the keys. At $150,000, the game finally changes. Not into billionaire mode, but definitely into options mode. But first, the tax machine still gets its turn. Higher income means more cash flow, not magical exemption from reality. After taxes, this tier can still create serious monthly breathing room. Savings, investing, travel, comfort, and emergency protection. Housing choices expand. You can upgrade, but the question becomes, does this home buy comfort or quietly eat freedom? The new enemy is lifestyle inflation. Now wearing designer sunglasses and whispering, you can afford it. Better apartment, premium car, private gym, nicer restaurants, better flights. Each choice feels reasonable until they form a committee. The power of 150 is the gap, the space between what you earn and what you normalize spending. That gap is your wealth engine. Feed it investments, emergency reserves, debt freedom, and future, you starts getting suspiciously powerful. At this tier, every raise needs rules. Some goes to investing first because lifestyle has terrible table manners. One real advantage is buying back time, cleaning help, childcare support, better commute, and tools that reduce daily friction. But uncontrolled spending turns 150 into a glamorous hamster wheel, shinier, faster, and still weirdly exhausting. The goal is not deprivation, the goal is controlled enjoyment, where comfort exists without eating the future. 150,000 is where income can become freedom, but only if you protect the gap. At this level, options appear. Move, invest, pause, negotiate, help family, or escape a bad job without panic. Next comes $300,000, power income, bigger choices, bigger mistakes, and a much shinier cage. $300,000 is power income, not private island money, but definitely solve problems faster than most people money. But first, the tax machine gets very interested. At this tier, deductions stop nibbling and start bringing adult-sized forks. Even after taxes, the cash flow can be huge: emergency savings, retirement accounts, taxable investing, housing, services, and comfort. This is where wealth can accelerate. Money can become assets fast if lifestyle does not intercept the delivery truck. But the mistakes get bigger too. Luxury leases, giant mortgages, premium schools, expensive friends, and brunch investments nobody understands. The mortgage decision becomes dangerous. You can buy more house, but more house can quietly buy your future time. One real advantage is buying back time. Childcare, cleaning, delivery, better commutes, expert help, and fewer tiny daily emergencies. At 300,000, investing can move from cute habit to serious machine. The monthly surplus can stack quickly. Tax planning also matters more. Not sketchy suitcase behavior, legal retirement accounts, deductions, timing, and professional advice. The nightmare version is the golden cage: huge income, huge bills, huge status, and almost no freedom to stop. This tier turns every choice into a multiplier. Spend everything and you look rich. Invest the gap and you become powerful. 300,000 is not automatic wealth. It is automatic opportunity, and opportunity still needs a driver. Used well, this income buys freedom, career breaks, family help, geographic choice, health support, and the ability to walk away. But context still wins. City, family size, healthcare, childcare, debt, and taxes can reshape the same income completely. Next, we prove why the same salary can feel rich, normal, or terrible, depending on where and how you live. Now comes the annoying truth: the same salary can feel rich, normal, or terrible, depending on where you live. 30,000 in a low-cost town is hard. 30,000 in a superstar city is basically financial parkour with rent spikes. 100,000 for a single person in a cheaper city can feel comfortable. In Manhattan, it may ask for roommates. State taxes also change the story. Two people with the same gross pay may land with very different net pay. Benefits matter too. Healthcare premiums, retirement contributions, and insurance can make the same salary feel like a different species. Family size multiplies everything. One adult budget is not the same movie as two adults, two kids, and daycare. Childcare can behave like a second rent payment, except this landlord has crayons and somehow more snack requirements. Even high earners can feel squeezed if mortgage, private school, healthcare, car payments, and lifestyle all arrive wearing matching suits. Debt is the invisible roommate who eats first. Student loans, credit cards, and car loans shrink every income tier. So when someone asks, is 100,000 good? The correct answer is, for whom, where, and with what obligations? Income tiers are useful, but context is the cheat code that changes the entire level. The same income can be survival, stability, stress, or freedom, depending on the costs attached to the person earning it. You cannot control every variable, but you can control fixed costs, debt choices, savings rate, and how fast lifestyle expands. That is why two people with the same salary can end up with completely different balance sheets 10 years later. Next, the biggest lesson of all, income is not wealth. Income is only the water flowing into the bucket. Here is the biggest lesson. Income is not wealth. Income is water flowing into a bucket. Wealth is how much stays in the bucket and whether the bucket has holes named rent, debt, lifestyle, and panic spending. A $300,000 earner can still fragile if every dollar is pre-assigned to status. A $75,000 earner can build wealth slowly if costs stay low and investing becomes automatic. High income gives speed. It does not give direction. A rocket without steering is still a very expensive problem. Low income makes discipline harder because the walls are closer, but tiny buffers still matter. Income is the top line. Wealth lives on the balance sheet, assets minus liabilities, fancy words, brutal scoreboard. Two people can earn very different salaries, yet the one with assets may be safer than the one with only cash flow. Wealth is emergency cash, retirement accounts, investments, business equity, skills, and the freedom to choose. Liabilities are the opposite: debt, oversized payments, unpaid taxes, and fixed costs that eat before you do. Net worth matters, but liquidity matters too. A house-rich person can still panic over a broken transmission. For high earners, the question is simple. How much of your income becomes assets before status grabs it? For middle earners, the question is, can you protect the gap, automate investing, and avoid lifestyle upgrades too early? For lower earners, the first wealth move is stability, cash buffer, benefits, skill growth, and avoiding toxic debt. So the final game is not earning more. It is turning whatever you earn into freedom. So what is the real game? Not just climbing the income ladder, but turning every rung into more freedom. At 30,000, the priority is survival. Protect cash flow, use benefits, build skills, and avoid toxic debt traps. At 50,000, protect breathing room. Keep fixed costs low, automate small savings, and stop comfort from becoming a landlord. At 75,000, momentum matters. Pay bad debt, build real liquidity, and invest before upgrades steal the raise. At 100,000, resist the identity trap. Six figures is not a costume, it is a tool. At 150, protect the gap between income and spending. That gap is where future freedom gets manufactured. At 300,000, convert cash flow into assets quickly before lifestyle turns the income into expensive furniture with opinions. Universal Rule 1: budget from net income, not gross income. The headline number does not pay rent. Universal Rule 2: housing and transportation are the giant levers. Control those and the monster loses most of its teeth. Universal Rule 3: build liquidity. Emergency cash turns surprise bills from disasters into annoying paperwork with bad timing. Universal Rule 4: kill high-interest debt. It is not a balance. It is future freedom leaking out monthly. Universal Rule 5: automate investing. If saving relies on willpower, lifestyle will eventually win the custody battle. Measure success by options, not appearances. Applause fades quickly, but freedom keeps paying dividends quietly. Every income tier can become a launch pad or a treadmill. The difference is margin, behavior, and what you do with raises. The goal is not to look rich at 300,000. The goal is to become free at whatever tier you are in